Okay, ready for a story? Here's a story from the land of LS1. So this is probably going to go on my socials, but it's more an update specifically for the client to let me know if I'm okay on my thought process, if you want to tell me to do something else, or just keep going. So here's where we're at. The block is stripped down bare, as you can see. I needed a special puller to pull the harmonic balancer, so that'll be here in the morning. We're going to pull that off. The oil pump's behind it, timing is behind it. We'll get all that stuff taken off, and then we'll be good to go. All the sensors are taken out of it. Everything's down to the bare block and cylinders. So what we found is that this thing's been burning a lot of oil for a lot of years, and I know it's only got 90,000 on it, but all this carbon buildup on the top of the pistons and the yellowing inside, especially in the valley here. This is all from hot oil being run through it, and you can kind of see on these surfaces, this one was stuck better than the other one was, but you can see on these surfaces how there's some oil deposits on there, and especially like on the top surface here and on the intake surfaces. So we went ahead and flipped a motor this morning. Here, let me set you down real quick. So we went ahead and flipped the motor over this morning, and we pulled the, so these are the rod bearings and these are the main bearings. So we pulled two rods today. I think it was this one here and this one here. We also pulled the center main, which is where the thrust bearing is. The thrust bearing is like a pillow, so that when you push on the clutch and it pushes up against the back of the bearings and the back of the crank, it's got a little cushion here in the center of the motor. So we wanted to inspect this main bearing and these two rod bearings and just kind of get a clue as to what this looked like. One of the rod bearings came off and it looked like it was really good shape. Like we almost think that we were still looking at machine surface on it. Then we pulled the second rod, and when we pulled the second rod, it looked good on the surface of it, but when we pulled the bearing off of the actual cap, it looked like it had maybe spun at one point. It was really heat checked on the rear side of that rod bearing. So then we decided, well, let's get a main off of here and let's take a look at the main and see what the main looks like. So we took this main off, and it's 6-bolt main, so you got 2 through the side and 4 through the top. It's a really stout bottom end in these LS's. But we took this main bearing off with the thrust bearing, and right in the center of this bearing there's a big score right in the middle of this one. So it's really hard for me to answer. It's still kind of a shot in the dark at this point. You know, what we'd really like to do, regardless of this bottom end, is we'd really like to get this thing to the machine shop to have it hot tanked and cleaned out. And the only way that they're going to hot tank it and clean it out is if we disassemble it. And you can probably see the cam lobes down there. The cam lobes are really worn, and this has got low miles on it for a Chevy V8. And it also has roller lifters, so there's an actual roller that's riding on these cam lobes, especially like that one right there. It's got all the lines in it, so that's really beat up. And I think whatever material came off of that was probably running through these bearings at some point. So what I really want to do, I mean, here's as honest as I can be about it. The mechanic said if it was mine, I'd probably run. I'm saying if it was mine and we were this far, I would want to at least hot tank it. If we want to hot tank it, I got to pull the crank and the pistons out of it. If I pull the crank and the pistons out to have it hot tanked, I might as well just have the machine shop put new cam bearings and new bottom end bearings in it and new piston rings in it, measure it, and put the right bearings and the right stuff back in it, and basically give me a clean, fully assembled, fully rebuilt short block. So it would come back in just like it looks right now, other than outside and inside it would be all brand new. Now I can do the miking and I can do this rebuild here in-house, but with time and, you know, expertise, I would prefer the machine shop to do this portion of it, and then just allow us to assemble the top end of it. But like I said, the mechanic, Keith, he's 50-50 on it, and he said, you know, it looks okay. I'd probably run it if it was mine, but he wants to hot tank it. So there's where we're at. It was my call. What I was planning on doing was putting this thing on the pallet tomorrow morning after the front harmonic balancer comes off and the timing comes out of it. Put it on a pallet, take it to the machine shop, have them take it, pull it apart, hot tank it, and then give me a rebuilt short block in the condition that I have it right now. If the bearings are good, go ahead and run the bearings. If they're not, don't, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what I think, is we'll send this one out to the machine shop and let them do their thing. Hopefully it's 2-3 week process. That'll allow us to start putting suspension components into this and working on the rear end and kind of doing that kind of thing. We went through and inventoried some of the suspension parts today, so we're kind of ready to go on that. Set the transmission up and just generally kind of get on to the rest of it minus the motor, and then when the motor comes back, we'll be ready to just slam that thing together and put it on the K-member. Here, I'll give you a sneak peek. That's where the motor is going to get bolted, and then that's what's going to be right down in here in the bottom. So anyway, let me know what you think. As always, comment, questions, concerns, hit me up. Give me a like, subscribe button, hit the bell, smash stuff, do stuff, and we'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care.